Is it a Cthulhu movie? Is it not a Cthulhu movie? Find out, I guess, if we make a sequel.
But it also could have been an earthquake for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Those could have been the megalodon.
Those could have just been really ugly sharks. Like, we don't know. There's no explanation for it.
Really ugly sharks
Just
with
really
arms.
Really ugly sharks.
Well, to be fair, there was no explanation for anything.
Well, we found out that they were drilling.
They were drilling.
That's about it.
A drilling crew.
Which you wouldn't have got until an hour into the film unless you watched the trailer immediately before watching the film like we did.
I think they hit all of the plot points in the trailer. Like
they nailed it.
You don't even need to watch the movie. Just watch the trailer. It tells you everything.
Skip the hour 35. Just watch the 2-minute trailer.
Yeah. No, time better spent, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, this was definitely funny.
It was funny?
Yeah, like
I'm sorry, was this a comedy?
No, it was just funny as like a different take on a monster movie. It felt like it should have been in space, but they decided to be different and put it underwater. Like, so if you just take it as like fluffy, it's kind of fun. Where it's like, okay, the alien thing is underwater and it's already on Earth. Yeah,
or it's just a really bland movie about some mysterious creature.
Yeah, but he had a cool mouth.
But I like bland movies about mysterious creatures, though, as long as they're as big as a house. That was my criteria. If it wasn't a natural disaster, I wanted whatever it to be huge.
Yeah, no, literally from the beginning, Michael's like, I don't care what it is, it just better be a house.
Big as a house, come on.
Oh my God.
And then, the first evidence of it, you're like, oh, I don't think this is going to be as big as a house. And then for like an hour, like 12 minutes, you're like, I don't think this is going to be as big as a house.
And then at one point, Michael was like, okay, it's bigger than a house.
Okay, it's bigger than a house.
Yeah, no, you just see this thing's face, and Michael's like, that's bigger than a house.
That's bigger than a house. You better
He's like, all right, I'll take it.
That's the only criteria that I had for this film. So I'm satisfied by all means.
That checks off Michael's list. 100%. He loves it.
I'm super hard to please with monster movies. It's like, was it a big monster? Yes, I like that film. Oh, no. You gotta love it when he starts with Welcome to every film in the book. We watch Underwater. The ending's crazy, but don't hold your breath. Is that the type of bullshit you were talking about, Steve? Yes, did I have to nail it for you? Did I have to nail your plan that I've never heard before for you?
All right, that's perfect. Let's
that's good. I'm Steve.
Daniel.
And I'm Michael.
And we're doing a podcast.
This movie's Underwater. The ending's crazy, but don't hold your breath.
Say it one more time. I think that's our new catchphrase.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
It's like we're just constantly lying to each other. It's like, will it be the truth? Don't hold your breath. We're about to watch a film and do a podcast, but don't hold your breath.
Your breath about that.
And we just sit here in silence for 27 minutes.
And yeah, everybody's going to listen to that episode, right? It's fantastic. It's pure entertainment right there.
As requested by 0 people. Had to do it.
So our whole fan base. Anyway, Underwater.
Oh, shit, self-burn.
Underwater is a movie. It came out in 2020. The best year of our generation.
Yeah, no, I honestly forgot this came out because that year was just a fucking blur.
I had no idea this came out. I thought it was more recent, but apparently it was 2020.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, this could have came out in 2015. Like, there's no way of telling this is a modern movie, even with the CGI or like any of the stuff they showed you. It just kind of looked half baked.
Well, there wasn't enough space in the movie to do anything. Like everything was in a hallway or a small room.
Well, yeah, they weren't in space. They were underwater.
Well, they didn't have enough space.
There's plenty of space in the water.
The
Michael.
visible distance in this film never got beyond 11 feet.
That's true.
Yeah.
They were in confined spaces.
And I mean, I guess it's easier to hide like your shitty monster effects when everything is pitch black.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious what the budget was on this movie compared to like, I don't know, a Guardians of the Galaxy movie or something where it's like everything is CGI.
Well, I mean, they definitely didn't spend that much money on costumes because they were either in a scuba suit or in their underwear.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Most
That's
of them
true.
were in their underwear.
Haynes made a lot of movie on this film. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I think they spent like $200 on Kristen Stewart's like industrial strength bra. This thing had like belts for straps.
It was kind of funny because it's like you're underwater. It's like I don't know if anything crazy is gonna happen with that.
Yeah, like she's wearing a thong. Like, come on, really,
Like-
Kristen Stewart?
Like, really?
What do you think's gonna happen down
The
there?
director of this movie knew what he was doing.
I didn't notice it all. I was looking for the monster that I was hoping to be as big as a house. That's all I was doing.
Oh my god. But
Yeah, so like I feel like this movie didn't have a lot of plot. There wasn't any setup at all. Really, literally, the setup was the trailer. And
Yeah.
Michael made a joke at first in the beginning we were watching this, like, oh, yeah, so we just had to watch the trailer to find out what's happening. And then, yeah, like, that's literally how it happened. We watched the trailer. It gave us the initial setup for the movie, and then it just went right into all the action. It didn't stop.
I honestly think they gave you more details in that trailer than they actually do through the whole hour and a half runtime.
The
Think so?
dialogue you see in the trailer, you think that's going to be part of the exposition.
Yeah.
Right.
Which they just forgot it. And
Either that, they
just
cut
skipped
that
to the
part out.
second third of a movie, and they were like, okay, we're going to do something different. We're going to film a movie, cut the first 18 minutes off, and then just
And then keep
chop that
going.
into a trailer, and then just play the movie from there.
But you know, I literally said, I think we were maybe 10 minutes into this, and I was like, why does it feel like we're 45 minutes into this movie?
Yep.
And it's
Yeah.
been on for 10
You
minutes.
feel like you're halfway there.
Which, again, I appreciate that because it doesn't give you a bunch of filler at the beginning that's just kind of wasting time. But at the same time, they could have given like at least 2 sentences. Like, that's all I'm asking for is like 2 sentences. They gave me 0.
Like, hey, we're underwater because
We're drilling.
there's a special conch shell that we really need.
It's
drilling
really
for
far
it.
down here.
It's way down
And
there.
we spent an ungodly amount of money to build a building at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, listen, Biden needs his shell. All right, we got to go down there.
What? If I want to get mean for a second, you have the money to do that, but not to scan for megalodons and stuff. It's like you were
That's
able
true.
to get to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and this is the first time we're seeing any of this.
Yeah, well, they
Right.
weren't. I guess they uncorked it with the drill. Like they finally drilled down deep enough to awaken Baba O'Reilly or whatever his name was.
I don't know, but was he just chilling in like
Yeah,
the,
no, he's
the sea floor
Dude,
rock?
The guy was peacefully asleep, and he gets a drill in the head, and he's like, "All right, you know what? That's it. I'm up." Like,
Excuse me while I wake up 27,000 carbon copies, just 1/16 the size.
I'm gonna fucking destroy this station. I'll teach them.
Oh, yeah. I feel like there's really not a whole lot to talk about with the plot, but more just the monsters.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of like your straightforward disaster movie. Like, we literally open the movie with a disaster. This whole research station is imploding on itself. So
The first minute of the movie.
yeah,
You
Within
literally,
the first minute.
you literally get the disaster before she brushes her teeth, before she finishes
Uh-huh.
brushing
Yeah.
her teeth.
Yeah.
And she starts brushing her teeth at the start of the movie.
yeah.
And then the disaster's before she's even done
Yeah.
with her first task.
Oh my god, I just realized, like, through I think 30% of this movie, Kristen Stewart still has toothpaste in her mouth. She never spit that out. Like, if she swallows, she's getting a mouthful of toothpaste. That's gross. But yeah, it's like she's running through the ship. Everything's imploding. There's water everywhere. We're saving characters along the way. I don't know why, because I feel like you're all dead. Like, you should all be
saving
dead.
them for later.
Yeah, like nobody should survive this movie.
Danielle mentioned that there was no filler at the start. It's like they definitely put it in between cool stuff.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any fat at the start, but they definitely space things out in a way that it doesn't dampen what's going on, because I feel like it still gradually goes up the whole film.
Well, yeah, that's the weird thing about it, right? It's like they don't give you any sort of baseline to feel like the movie is ramping up in any way. It just starts you with chaos, and then it just keeps going with the chaos. So really, it kind of feels like it's all almost on the same level. So like to say it's a thriller is kind of, I don't know, because it doesn't really make you feel that like thriller, like, oh my god, what's gonna happen feeling, because it's just consistent throughout the whole movie.
They should have called it, like Steve was putting it, a disaster film.
Yeah.
Or just a monster.
Yeah, like
film.
Call this
like,
Godzilla underwater.
Yeah, they could have added that kind of monocle to it, and it would have been fine.
Like, this could have been a Godzilla prequel. Like, Godzilla pops up at the end and he like bites the station with Kristen Stewart in it.
Well, I guess most monsters either come out of the earth, or a volcano, or space.
Yeah, I mean, those are the stereotypical locations.
I feel like in other monster movies they come out of the Mariana Trench, but I don't think anything. I don't know. I imagine some monster in monster movies originate from there. Like a bunch of them have to.
Oh, that's where the ones from Pacific Rim came out.
That's right. Okay, that's
yeah,
what I was
they
thinking
just
of.
popped out.
I knew something else. I was like, it's a popular place, but the people
it's a
haven't.
Vacation spot.
It's always the monsters coming to the people, and this one is the people went to the monsters.
Yeah, that's true.
Damn.
So that's like, I feel like that's as deep as we can get with it. To be honest,
yeah,
that's about as deep as we can get. So that was new.
Yeah. So basically, there's the captain, Kristen Stewart, and like, I don't know, four other people.
Cast.
Yeah. And we don't get to know any of them. We don't know really their names. I mean, they say them, but not enough to where you remember them.
Yeah, like I think she was Nora. The captain was just Captain.
Yeah.
They all were happy to see each other alive.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as it went.
That's about all the.
They're like, oh my goodness, you survived too. Yes.
But they also mentioned that like this is a big space they were working in, and some of them didn't even work with each other or interact with each other in any way.
Right.
So when she finds the one girl like dead along the way, when she's getting into that main space and meeting up with the group, she's like, I think it was, and she says her name. She's like, I don't know. She worked like 3 floors below me. So she had like a little comment about how big the space was.
Right.
And I feel like with most people would be having space station size in their head. I know I did, because they did show graphics and like a blueprint of the building, but you can't really get a scale for that in your head, because we're used to seeing trailers in space, and then it happens, and then they get in a little pod. This was a lot bigger, and then you have to wait a good bit to really grasp the scale of this project down there. And then I know later on they have to walk again to where the drill is. So this is just a building off site of a drill. So it's a bunch of huge buildings, which I was not expecting. I was expecting like little tiny trailer pod and a small excavator thing. But no, this is like a mega corporation's dig site type thing.
This is like bigger than the Meg facility. Like they had that huge research station under there.
That's just because of the depth. The buildings have to be bigger the further down you go.
Yeah.
When you get to the bottom, it's got to be Mall of America size.
Oh my god! But yeah, so they decide that their best course of action is to leave this, research station, because it's all going to implode on itself, and they got to walk on the bottom of the ocean to get to a further, base that they have. But to do that, they have to get on like this elevator. So they have to walk their way to this elevator, ride that down, and then walk again. And I'm like, already, that seems like too much walking.
You have to go down to go back up.
Yeah, which is
I hate
always
that concept.
solid. It's like you can't just swim across.
Well, they
Like,
do
come
make
on, you're
a
underwater.
point. They do make a point to mention the depth they are at when they start, and then they keep getting lower and lower before they can actually escape. So like it's kind of interesting how they have to go deeper just to escape.
It's like 7 miles or something goofy.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't, like, I know I was saying during the movie, I'm like, you either die in the thing or you die walking to the other thing. I'm like, dude, I don't want to walk outside. I don't want to do it.
I don't want to go in the water.
That's where the sharks are. I don't like it.
And of course, some of them did not want to walk.
No,
No,
like,
I don't
blame
want
them.
to. I'm afraid. And then
Armored
classic-
scuba suit or not.
Yeah.
you can do it. You can do it. We have no choice.
Well, yeah,
We're all doing it. Peer pressure, underwater, 7 miles.
that kind of brings up the whole, like, wait, why don't they have training if they're this far underwater? You think they would at least have a diving license.
Yeah, the one girl
Like-
said she never knew how to swim, or like she never
No,
took
they
a
were-
Why are you
diving
working
lesson.
underwater?
When they were handing out after the initial disaster happened, they all find each other in the room. And they're like, no, there's some suits. I have a plan before they lay out the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, some of us, what's her name?
Oh, Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, she has the comment. She's like, I don't mean to be like the bad guy, but some of you aren't the best divers. And my first thing is like, you're living for months underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And Danielle says that should be a prerequisite for even
Yeah.
being able to put in an application for the job.
Right?
Somebody lied on their resume. Yeah, I'm the best swimmer.
I'm the best swimmer. It comes out, this is an emergency situation. I lied on my application.
That would be the worst time to admit that. Like, hey,
Yeah.
Cap, so I may have falsified some information.
I printed my degree off the internet.
That was a fake degree.
I can only hold my breath for 7 seconds without having a panic attack.
Oh my
jeez.
god.
Yeah, it's a little crazy how unqualified these people seem. Like, they seem like regular people just doing a normal job, but they happen to be 7 miles under the water. Like, you think this would be like astronaut level intelligence with these people.
All right, so like Kristen Stewart like kind of lays out her job. She's like, yeah, I'm just an engineer. I just reset breakers. I'm like, anybody could reset the breaker. You flip the freaking switch. You don't need an engineer down there to flip a switch. I guess she knows how to flip the right switches, but like, come on.
Yeah,
There's normally
that's a
like an
major
instruction pad. Like,
which is always so legible.
oh yeah, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
The instructions are always so clear. But she does have an innate ability to open any door
all
yes.
the
ever.
doors. She's good
The
at
doors are her domain. Do not step within it.
He was like, this door's jammed. And she was like, hold on, I got this. And then she just like hits some buttons and then it opens and she's like, boom, done.
Well, the
Nailed
first
it.
one doesn't work, so she has to pull the panel off. And,
She's like, I gotta get in there.
Put some wires. It took 4 seconds, and she fixed the whole building
Yeah,
Dude,
she's
so
an
good.
engineer, so, you know.
and
Yeah.
engineered the breaker, and it was fine.
But yeah, so we get everybody suited up to go underwater. Ooh. And they
That's
get
the name of the movie.
they get to this elevator that they need to take further down. And while they're inside this elevator, they start hearing things like clicking outside, and they're like tapping on the metal, and like all the characters are starting to be like, all right, so something is definitely following us, or something is out there with us. And this is like our first kind of introduction to like, oh, maybe there's more than just sharks and like stingrays and all those other cute sea creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they finally make it a little bit further down, but they realize there's like a abandoned pod or something, and they think, oh, well, maybe there's a survivor. We got to go help them. So we send out 2 of our divers, and this is like our first kind of encounter with one of these like creature thingies.
Yeah, that was like when you saw the goo around the one guy who
the guy
was already
goo.
dead.
It was so confusing.
Yeah, I don't know if it was supposed to be like some sort of I don't want to say sperm, but but creature sperm, like.
Well, I mean, all right, they got those weird like mouths, and they seem to like engulf everything. I mean, it's probably just monster spit. Like,
but it felt like a mixture of organic and, like, I don't want to say supernatural, but almost like a spirit type quality to it.
Goo.
oh, like ectoplasm.
Like
ectoplasm goo.
but they also ingested things. Like the ectoplasm, we never really get a why that was there.
Yeah,
it was just kind of.
Yeah, all of it doesn't really seem related. Weirdly, like every time they show a creature, it feels different, and it doesn't feel like there's anything connecting them. So like this goo that you see around this guy, it's like it seems like they put something under his skin and then it flung out at the camera like a little jump scare. And that's the first time they actually caught one of those little creatures.
Yeah, but
I
like
think
we
they
never
shoot it. I don't think they catch it.
Yeah.
I think they shoot it in the face.
They shot it.
But like we never see one of these types of the creatures again. Like it's just this tiny little like I guess baby creatureling. And
that's
like,
your first thought. It must be a baby one.
Yeah, because they're like, no way this tiny little thing caused that whole research station to explode.
And they scale it up. Like the next time you see it, it's a little bigger, then it's a little bigger. Then we think it's full size like 4 separate times.
Yeah. But they bring this this new species, they're calling it, onto the ship, and they're trying to figure out what it is, and they're like, while this lady is examining it, she's like touching it with her bare hands.
Oh my god, yeah, and it had little spikes, and she's just like poking the spikes. I'm like,
it didn't look friendly.
Yeah,
like,
no,
it could be venomous
spikes.
or poisonous or whatever, and you're just poking it with your bare hands.
She touches the spike. It's like, we have snakes on land. Like, you know how that mechanic works in an animal.
Poke it.
It's like that's where the poison squirts out from.
Stop poking it.
You're not supposed to bleed around those things. They squirt poison into it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, I mean, like,
and then it twitches.
Well, it's like Danielle's. These are like they just seem like regular people who are like, hey, what does this do if I poke it?
Right? Like, you think they'd be a little bit intelligent.
Like, I feel like
have science background.
If you have a doctorate, you wouldn't be poking things.
And like, just as some proof that it was this big of a deal was at the end. It was they were showing like newspaper clippings of the disaster, and they were like front page headline news. So this was a big deal. So to me, it was like, well, this got to be the first kind of group, maybe the first round of employees that have been down there to work at this thing.
Right.
That's
and
true.
it didn't seem like not a big deal.
Yeah.
And they were just so ill-trained and not qualified for anything.
Right.
But it was a huge deal for the planet or whatever
Yeah.
in the information they do give you.
Yeah, it's weird how in the beginning, well, in the trailer, they mention that they're going to be down there for a month. But in the movie, they don't say anything about that, and they don't tell you how long they've been down there or how much longer they're going to be down there. And then in the very beginning, they call a safety crew that never shows up. So clearly it must take a long time to get to them. So yeah, it's just kind of weird that they don't have anybody on standby in case something goes wrong.
Like, there's always that one line in these kinds of movies where it's like, ah, shit, we were only a week away from like shore leave. Like, we could have made it. But like, yeah, no, there's no like no inkling of like how long they're there or like why they're even there, other than, oh, we're drilling for some unknown thing.
And the only time frame you get is from Kristen Stewart, who's saying, you know, when you've been down here for months, there's nothing to differentiate between day and night except for awake and dreams, and sometimes I can't even differentiate between the two of them.
It's like, are you just like, being emo, or are you
is she the only one that's been there that long?
Yeah.
Because there's apparently hundreds of employees, and you're telling me that none of them had to leave?
Yeah.
Like none of them went up for like a Burger King run or something.
not even that. Like hundreds of employees and no one had any type of emergency at all.
Right.
Like even if it was an emergency that they had to be hospitalized for, you think that somebody would be, I don't know, coming to rescue somebody at some point. So you just think there would be some sort of plan in place in case something went wrong, right?
And there was no in case of fire plans on the wall either. So they're not up to OSHA. So this is a bum rig out deep in the ocean.
I didn't see any fire extinguishers until the end. All right, this is ridiculous.
They're in international waters, so you know.
Yeah, they don't need OSHA out there.
Speaking of international waters, one good thing I liked about this film was there was no governments. There was no. They didn't really tell you about the business that was doing it. It was just about the employees.
Yeah.
Like no countries were involved, or you just knew where it was, but they didn't bother with any of that stuff that I feel like a lot of other monster movies do. Like it was off the coast of here and it caused this much damage to this one guy who was funding the project.
But yeah, it also seems a little weird that they had no communication with the outside world. Like nobody on the surface could help them in any sort of way. Like they reached out to some sort of communication at one point in the beginning, and then the rest of the movie they're just on their own.
And they say, oh, well, it knocked the antenna out. Well,
was there one antenna?
It's a huge building, and they only have one antenna.
There's got to be more than one.
There's no way. There's no way.
That's a design flaw if I've ever.
They had to walk over a mile to the next part of the building. There was another antenna there.
There had to be another.
There was another antenna.
I don't know. But yeah, so they literally get to the bottom of the ocean, and they, as Michael say, walk a mile to this other place, and like these scenes were, I think, the most, as they say, thrilling for me, because it's just like, walking on the bottom of the ocean, you can barely see like a few feet in front of your face, like that's got to be fucking terrifying, especially when there's like Cthulhu monsters out there,
like mutant squid, with very sharp fingernails.
Very sharp fingernails.
Yeah, so a lot of this is just walking around to the different areas. We're losing people along the way. So, like, at every point they stop, at least one person dies.
And
actually,
do we want to describe the imploding?
Oh,
since people are dying at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like that was Steve's favorite part of the whole film. Oh, my goodness.
He imploded.
Whoa.
Yeah, so... what was it? It was on their way down to the surface. Like the one guy's helmet cracks, and then like this dude just goes, "Oh shit!" and his whole body explodes into pieces.
Implodes.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
it went inside.
Yeah, he like sucks into himself.
It implodes so hard he goes flying.
Yeah, and like. The one girl is just screaming her lungs off as like bits of their friend are just bouncing off of their helmets.
Floating around. Just floating around.
It's the most ridiculous shit.
As they're walking, you can still see like some bigger chunks.
Yeah, like Kristen Stewart's like, I gotta get out of this box. And you literally hear the thumps off of her helmet as like this dude's body's bouncing.
Oh, and that's not the first imploder we've had. Because then there was at least two more? Two more imploders?
Yeah, they had
something like that.
They had like what, 3 or 4 maybe?
Yeah, I know the captain gets it a little later
because
by explosion.
You think everybody's dead, then someone's alone. Then they find people, then they're alone again, then they find less people, then they're alone again. Then they just find one person and then they find that person finding another person, and then maybe some of them survive. Like it's just really weird how they jump back and forth, because it looks like the building is being destroyed, but there's pockets of safety, and they never really give you a head count during the like as you go along the film. It's like, okay, we think that these two, if you don't see them die, they're just alive being saved for later. They just stuff them in a closet, and they're like, all right, just wait here 12 minutes, the scene comes back to you.
The creatures or the explosions got bored with them, and they're like, all right, I'll give you 12 more minutes. Hold on. We'll be back.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I don't even know what happens now.
Well, so now they're in that other building. They just walked their mile. And this is when they have to, like, go underwater again, but inside the building. And this is where T.J. Miller gets it. So like they're all going one at a time through this crack. And TJ Miller, of course, is the last one to go. And like we see something like walking behind him, which I was like, oh shit, look, it's a thing.
It's a thing. The thing's moving in the background.
At this point, I thought it was a kraken. So I was like, look, it's a mini kraken. It's like one of them land krakens.
Land krakens 8 miles below.
Yeah, it's a land kraken. But yeah, so like he's walking underneath, and he's like the only one with a wire attached to him for some reason. So they're like pulling him through, but as they're pulling him through, something else is pulling TJ Miller back through. So like they're all trying to fight with a Cthulhu monster, which you can't do. And this thing rips him from his leg out the bottom of his scuba suit.
Yeah, you just see his helmet fill with blood because it just pulled his body through his leg.
It's like one of those confetti poppers. They pulled the leg and it went boom.
My God.
It just splattered TJ Miller. And that was it for him.
Yeah, but
was this the whole time I'm complaining about how is there knee-high level water inside an air pocket that's yeah. I was unhappy at this point.
How is this building not imploded?
Like, wait, but it doesn't make sense because you think the pressure of the water would just explode the whole thing.
Every other air that's exposed down there, there's a small explosion afterwards, and whatever it was is gone. And this one's, waist deep water.
Yeah. Well, because if water can get in, then air can get out, and the air wants to go up towards the surface, and because of the pressure, it would just go that way, so everything would explode.
The fact that the movie already set a precedence of like all air is explosive.
Right. And then it just completely ignores that for plot convenience.
Well, yeah, the movie's got to happen.
So he gets ripped out of his suit.
Yeah, honestly, I think he was my favorite because like there's this like quick little scene you see of his face kind of like shrink up and he gets like this really big double chin and then the popper goes off and the whole thing fills with blood. It's awesome.
Good stuff.
We're going to walk around the bottom of the ocean some more.
Yeah, that's basically where we go from here. They just, go from this building and then they decide, oh, wait, there's another building we got to get to. Mm-hmm. Everybody put your suit back on. We got to go walk again because we got to make this movie happen.
After the second building, they stop telling you where you are, but you just know they're not where the escape pods are.
Oh, yeah. They just kind of keep going from space to space, and it's more of they're trying to avoid the creatures. But yeah, I think the captain is the next one to go. Yeah,
because they're walking, and one of the ladies gets picked off because they notice a creature's like chilling out with them. So they turn off all their lights. And when they turn them back on, the one girl that's with them is like being drug away. So the captain's like, I'm going to save my crew. I told her she wouldn't die. It's like, dude, just cut your losses. She's gone.
Oh, well. Looks like the
I guess I lied.
Got that one.
And which he makes someone else cut their losses, and he bites the dust too.
Yeah, because this creature ends up pulling him or like really fast up to the surface. And he's like, dude, if you hold on to me any longer, Kristen Stewart, you're going to explode too. So he like cuts his own line and she goes flying back just in time for him to like implode. And you get to see the full like grasp of his explosion. This guy's like a mini nuclear bomb.
Right.
As he goes off. I was like, holy shit.
I justified that with whatever power cell is powering that like super deep exosuit or whatever.
They're like Gears of War armor.
Right.
It looks like.
Right. That is a good reference. Yeah. All they needed was because doesn't she pick up a chainsaw at one point?
Yeah, she does pick up a
so that was what made me think of Gears of War. Because I was just like, she's fighting a weird alien monster and she's got a chainsaw and one of them already got shot. This is Gears of War. Okay.
But yeah, from here, Kristen Stewart wakes up from falling from trying to save the captain, and she starts walking towards, I guess, another building that they have down here. She gets inside, deep like pressurizes the room, and she's starting to kind of like gain control of her emotions at this point. But she also decides, I'm gonna take a shower for some reason and cry. Just have myself a good old cry right in the shower.
Well, yeah, you gotta have that dramatic moment with the protagonist, Steve.
Yeah, I know, but if I just survived a Cthulhu attack underwater, I ain't going back in water to not even if it's a shower. I don't want, like Michael said, I want to be dry as fuck.
I should be really dry. I just want to be
4
extremely
towels.
dry.
I want to be so dry. I'm just like, oh man, this is uncomfortable with how dry I am right now.
You want to just start chafing immediately. Then you know you're dry enough.
Oh my god.
Like, cry all you want. Just be dry when you do it. Like, have a towel under your eyes so none of the tears touch you.
I will say this made it confusing for the next part coming up because these scenes with her made it feel like she was there for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, the way they cut between her, like, in the shower, and then she was trying to communicate with her team, and she wasn't getting any response. And just like it was like a short little montage did make it feel like it was
like a day or two, at least the rest of that day.
Well, because not only that, like at the end of that scene, you get a montage of her like suiting up and armoring up. So it's like that implies there's been a few hours,
and that's when she's getting angry at no response, and so they had those quick jump cuts of what seemed like the rest of her day's activities were.
Right.
And then she finally decides to go back out there. And does she just walk straight into the crew member?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, she's trying to get to the escape pod.
And just walks directly. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, she's
very
just like,
convenient.
oh my God, is that you? And then she finds her
like
friend.
It's going to be somebody else at the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
Yeah.
She acts like she's at like the mall and she bumps into an old friend. It's like, oh, wow, you're here too.
Oh.
But yeah, so you're not exactly sure how long that was. I would assume it was maybe a few hours, but I can't imagine it's more than that because how could this other crew member be underwater for that long? Like none of them had a super long supply of oxygen. So
yeah, like that's something we established before they even walk for the first time. It's like we have insufficient oxygen, but yet this girl can survive totally fine.
The alarms, and well, I should say, anytime something thrilling, because that's the word they used, happened, the oxygen warning, they were on.
Boop,
so it's
boop,
like
boop.
it's
Oxygen.
like every time it's like, okay, so you've made it a point and you've shown it now 7 or 8 times that we can't hold oxygen in these suits, and the time seems to get shorter because thankfully they walk shorter distances. It made the film a lot shorter, which I appreciate. But they make it seem like the coworker, to be honest, that she runs directly into has been out there for a day, maybe.
Yeah.
And she's not dead.
Not to mention the guy she's like dragging around is like half dead himself. So like how he survives too.
Yeah, he wasn't doing well, but she was pretty freaked out, which again, she's the one who freaked out initially when all this started going down. But I feel like it has to have been like a few hours for her to be at that point of like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
After she calmed down initially.
But I will say
that's a good point. She was pretty hype.
Yeah.
Like it had just happened and it made it seem like it was a while ago. So it was very confusing.
But I will say, I don't care like how tough you think the suits are. When I see like if Michael's at the bottom of the ocean and I'm running towards him, I'm not going to tackle him.
You're going to expect that the helmet's going to shatter.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve's not doing well.
Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat.
Knock it off, Steve. We're talking about serious business here.
But seriously, like Kristen Stewart tackles this girl and she's like, look at me, it's fine. I'm like, dude, I would not be risking that at all. Like, sure, they're like armored suits, but I'm like, your head clunks a little too hard. And like, next thing you know, you're both imploding.
Yeah, especially considering that like the one girl smashes a helmet with a fire extinguisher and it just takes like 2 blows and then the whole thing cracks.
Yeah, like these things are either...
Which happens next, actually.
Yeah, like these things are either the strongest things in the world or they're like flimsy, like paper mache products.
Yeah, very story convenient.
Right.
But I think the main point of this area is we're starting to see the bigger fella.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then we finally get to see the big fella.
The biggest
big,
fella.
big fella.
And this is like an hour and 10 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
And it took that long for me to approve of this movie.
Oh, gee. So you approve, huh?
Yes. I approve because of the size of the monster.
Yes.
As that was my only criteria.
That was the only thing.
So they drag, because Kristen Stewart then helps.
Yeah.
Her drag, which we find out later is her love interest. Of course, because you can't find another at the bottom of the ocean
Yeah.
other
Yes,
than
yes.
your love.
You
Yes.
take what you can get.
at the bottom floor. They make it in, and of course, now we get a halfway explanation of what the creature is, but still not the size scale to it.
Right.
Because this is where the one is looking at her through the window and this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And then we see the amount of them, right before they got into the building. We're kind of awakened to the scale of how many these things are, because we've seen a couple different kinds, but we're not sure if it's 1 or 5. They kind of make it seem like both, and they're like, no. It's like
There are hundreds.
75,000. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot. It's an
It's a whole
excessive amount
population.
of underwater death organisms.
And they're all attached to this one larger organism, we assume. I don't know. They never really clearly show that, but they do show, like the ones that are a little bigger than human sized, I guess you could say, and then the one that's like building size.
Right, because this is where I started to get a little excited, because when we saw them all on that shape, I was like, ooh, that could just be like on a tentacle of the mama whatever.
And then
I started to get excited, and then I was like, hey, I was kind of right. This is close enough. I win.
But it's a little disappointing how they didn't really show the full scale of the monster. Like, they kind of do, but you don't ever get a good look at it.
Yeah, they never like illuminate it fully, and they're like, hey, look at this fucking thing.
Right. Like, again, we're underwater. We're kind of seeing what the characters are seeing, so it's hard for them to see anything in the first place. But, come on, this is a movie. I want to see the full monster.
I think you guys would back me up. We've kind of been spoiled with some of the monster movies with, Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
Like, they broke a lot of stuff. So in my head, I was like, oh, it's a big thing?
Mm-hmm.
This is great. It meets my size requirements. Destroy a city and let me watch.
Dude,
Which is kind of what I have in my head, because all the other good ones, and I was like, this might be a crazy thing that just destroys a town underwater, like that industrial town. And it fell short, in my opinion.
It did destroy the whole building, though. I think every room was destroyed.
I think I just wanted that, not super zoomed out, but zoomed out scene where you can see the landscape and see the scale of damage that the thing's doing to it.
That's
Right.
true.
And we never got one of those, and those are my favorite shots.
Yeah, like everything that was happening was just through the character's perspective. So, yeah, you never really got those wide shots, unfortunately.
Which I think the Godzilla movies definitely spoil us with.
Yeah, like
That's
they know
true.
what you want to see.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you came here for the big green guy. You don't give a shit about the Bryan Cranstons or the
Right?
whatever else is in that movie.
And they pan out to more of the monster scale. And we didn't get to see anything from the monster scale.
Yeah.
Disappointed.
But so I guess this is our final act of this movie. Our 3 remaining characters just like make it to their escape pods, and we find out only 2 of them are operational. One of them's a little defective.
But Kristen Stewart doesn't let her coworkers know that, because she's trying to be brave.
Yeah, she's trying to be the helpful soul.
Take the moral
Yeah.
high ground.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrifice.
And then they're all fighting over who gets to go in the
and she
escape pod
fucking
first.
cold cocks the one girl didn't be like, no, I'm staying behind and dying. You get to survive.
She literally punches her in the face.
Yeah.
Like, go in there, and then punches her in the face.
I already decided I was going to be the martyr.
And then she was like, I can't.
All right, you better make it to the surface, you son of a bitch.
I like the back and forth Danielle and I had with, they sent the guy first in the escape pod. And I was like, come on, man. Let one of the ladies go first.
And then I was like, I was hoping the creature would just like reach for that escape pod immediately and just like eat it like it was nothing.
So I immediately changed my opinion. I was like, oh, we're using him as bait? Yeah. Send the dude. Send the dude.
Send the dude first.
And they did.
Yeah, no, it kind of just launches him like super fast, which again, you think wouldn't really be great for the pressure.
Yeah, the captain went up too fast and he imploded. What makes these escape pods any different?
I don't know. But so he gets shot up first, and then the one girl goes second. The girl who's not Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Again, don't know anybody's names in this movie.
The lady that's not Kristen Stewart.
So she goes next, and then Kristen Stewart's like left behind, and she gets her final little moment to be the hero.
I hate that her last line is like, let's light this shit up. And then the whole research base explodes.
I mean, that's kind of a cool line.
I mean, I would have been peeing
the
and
whole
probably
time.
not said anything.
I would have been shaking in my boots. Oh, I'm about to detonate a nuclear bomb underwater. All right, cool. Let's pee my pants and hit start.
I know we didn't get too nitpicky about, I mean, we expressed some concerns with the science behind some of what was going on, but we didn't completely go in that direction with it, which, I mean, that would add an hour to our discussion. But I didn't like how she had to hack doors that she had access to, and then in the most intense part, she hit 2 buttons and then picked up 3 sliders, like the volume on a mixer, and just picked up digital sliders, just 3 fingers on the screen, and picked them up. And then 9 seconds later,
and then it was like, death is imminent.
The self-destruct button.
Self-destruct in
was
5.
so easy to get to.
Yeah.
And they were trying to survive so hard just to only have to push 2 buttons to
Like,
kill everything.
I thought she was going to like trigger the self-destruct, like have to like race against the clock to fix that last escape pod.
Or at least 50-50 if it's going to work.
Right. But like it was like everything else in this movie broke or sucked. And then like the one thing that she needed to work perfectly was like, oh yeah, dude, bro, I got you. Like,
we
hit
can
start.
self-implode.
Besides the radio quality during the intense scenes. That was the only other piece of equipment that worked 100% of the time.
But yeah, all this to say, Kristen Stewart blows herself up, and she takes all of the monsters with her. Mm-hmm. At least that's what it looks like.
Right.
And then we get our 2 survivors and newspaper clippings basically saying the whole event was classified and we're not talking to it. You can't talk to the people who survived. And we're going to keep drilling because we didn't learn anything from what the fuck just happened.
Yep.
And then, of course, they show, after they've shown the explosion, all this, they go back to Kristen Stewart and you can see the particulate around her as her world like disintegrates or whatever because of the explosion.
Yeah, it's in slow motion.
But then you get her do the thing with her eyes, and it kind of takes you back to the, I can't tell if I'm dreaming or awake type thing. And she does the weird thing with the eyes almost as if she's waking up. Like it was kind of a halfway, I don't know. For me, I saw that and I was like, okay, well, she said that. Is that what it wants me to do? Or is this just trying to make a cool looking ending?
Right.
Yeah, I feel like it was more of they're trying to make it feel like deep and dramatic rather than it actually being her waking up from a dream. Yeah, I don't think they thought that far ahead, considering they couldn't even figure out the science behind underwater pressure.
Right. We'll do it one way 40% of the time and completely different the rest.
Yeah.
But now I just saw that, and from my thinking, I'm like, well, they wouldn't have put it in slow motion if it wasn't supposed to mean something, but it also did look pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it more so symbolizes like the fact that when you know you're going to die and it's happening in the moment, time slows down, and it was just like her last moment before she literally exploded.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to look at it. Because, like, I mean, outside of that, it's just, hey, did you notice she sacrificed herself? Hey, we're going to slow down time so you notice that she's sacrificing herself.
I know, but we could have gathered that.
Yeah,
Come
I feel
on.
like it was more for emotion than for some other meaning.
So a couple different gradients here. If we're going to overall the movie through a monster lens, I thought it was cool, but they started off at a pace that they didn't keep the monster with.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to look at it as a monster movie, like, I know we keep talking about Godzilla, but think about Godzilla. You get him within 30 minutes of that,
Right.
you know, the movie starting.
And
This,
even
you had to wait an hour and 10 minutes to fully grasp just one of these monsters.
which Danielle was saying, the amount of what they put in here, they should have gone more of a horror route.
Right.
Where they could have put a little more into it being terrifying, like it said, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It was cool,
Yeah, like if it was something where they had to like,
but I wasn't scared.
Yeah, right.
like they had to like creep along like the research station, like, and like things are like trying to break in, and like, you know, every now and then you see like a character walking down a hallway and the whole hallway just gets taken. Like something where it's like more suspenseful, not like we're hiding this because we don't like how it looks, like CGI wise.
Right? Like we thought it was going to be better, so we're just going to not put as much of it in.
Yeah.
Like it
And
almost
I feel
seems like
that
they're
hurts it a good bit as a monster movie,
like
at least.
they're almost like afraid to show you like the monsters, and it's like in a movie like this, I want to see the monster. I don't give a shit about Kristen Stewart and what she has to do to solve this problem. I want to see the monsters. Like,
And then if we're looking at it, as Steve was mentioning at the beginning, the disaster route, a lot of disaster movies take a while to set up, and we're warned of it. But again, we're even warned of it in most disaster movies sooner.
Yeah, there's
normally in the
some
first couple of
scientists.
scenes, even with some of the films we've watched recently, like this report says that this is going to happen soon, type thing.
right.
Yeah.
And didn't do any of that either.
Yeah, so like it was confusing for what it was trying to be. It calls itself a thriller, which I guess you could say it was, but I feel like I would have liked it better if they would have leaned a little more either into the sci-fi or into the horror, and it was just kind of like this weird in between.
Like if there was just one scene where they were like, hey, if we keep drilling at this speed and at this depth, we're going to cause some kind of damage. Oh, shit.
Oh. Steve lost his voice.
I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they would have done anything like that, it would have given some sense of not just a like why we're here, but even a final product of we're doing this because it makes the electric car fuel nowadays above the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, there wasn't any sort of pressure behind what they were doing and why it was so important for them to be there. But at the same time, it felt like the crew would have died for what they were doing. It's just like, come on, give a little context.
They were pretty dedicated to it.
Yeah.
But with a disaster, it's going to wipe out the planet. Where this is reserved to as far down as you can get.
Yeah.
Right.
And they even say, well, we shouldn't be down here. It's like, okay, well,
Then what the hell are you down
could,
here for?
right? Well, they killed it, so it's not a problem anymore. They could have just done that as cracking the can, where it lets it out. You know what I mean? They could have.
Yeah, like I was expecting some after credit scene where there's an even bigger monster that like comes out. He's like, "Oh, you killed my husband. Now I'm pissed."
That was my cousin Joe. We've been friends for 17,000 years.
Damn you, Kristen Stewart! I will find your relatives.
But yeah, it really honestly felt like a mix of a few movies, and it just overall was kind of bland and not really interesting.
I don't want to say it's a hodgepodge.
It's kind of a hodgepodge.
It's kind of a hodgepodge of okay, well, this is get the bare bones disaster script line up.
Right.
Get the outline for that. write a little bit.
Mix it with the Meg.
Mix it with the Megalodon. Okay, where don't they do these monster movies? Underwater. Okay, the monster's always coming to them. Okay, we'll go to the monster. I feel like if they'd have picked one of those things to do differently, they could have accomplished that much better than kind of the mix and match, cookie cutter. This kind of fits here. Let's force it in type way.
Yeah, they definitely dipped the toes in too many ponds, I think, for this one.
And ran out of toes to make any of the ponds good, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'll just about do it for us here at Every Film in the Book. We hopefully you stay a little drier than you would hope.
Look, if you live underwater for months, I'm gonna want to be dry all the time.
Forever.
I'm not outside.
I apologize to everyone who meets me. I will be smelly as shit if I worked underwater for a month.
No showers here.
You have to use the powder deodorant.
Oh yeah,
Can't even use the roll-on because
dry shampoo only.
Hair would be dog food.
Oh my god.
Definitely, I don't want to go out crapping on a movie that I did enjoy a bit. So the monster is crazy. It is fun, but it's not. It just doesn't hold up in any one specific category.
Yeah, I'd say just YouTube the clips of the monsters. I'm sure you'll get the gist.
Yeah.
Watch the trailer and then pretend fill in the rest.
Yeah.
And that's good enough.
Solid 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
5.1.
5.1 out of 10.
Alrighty, we'll catch you guys next time. See you later.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to eat the space station underwater.
The underwater
space station must fall. Someone let me out of my rock shell, and I must devour